Okay guys, we have been talking about line plots with this last unit. Your teacher may or may not have you have a copy of this packet in front of you to work on, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple things. We're going to learn how to make a line plot and graph the data on it, and then we're going to learn how to read the data and answer questions based on it. So our first question is about Mr. Nagy, and he recorded how much of a mile each student in his gym class ran. The results are shown below. So you see the 10 fractions that are listed there. When you have a line plot and you need to put the data on the line plot, right now we have nothing on our number line, so we've got to actually create what we're going to skip count by. So take a couple minutes. I want you to talk amongst your group and look at those fractions and brainstorm and figure out how you want to put them in order. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is I've taken out all of the fractional pieces, and hopefully in your group you guys recognize that all of these need to have a common denominator because I need to end up putting them in order like I'm counting. So as I look at my denominators, 2, 4, 8 are my three denominators, so finding that common denominator, hopefully you guys came up with a least common denominator of 8. So what do we need to do next? You're exactly right. We need to take these and we need to put them into equivalent fractions, all with a denominator of 8. So if I have 1/2 and I'm changing it to 8ths, whatever I do to my denominator, I need to do to my numerator. So 2 times 8 was what? Sorry. 2 times 4 is 8. Stop that completely. All right, so hopefully you guys brainstormed that all of these fractions can be put into 8ths, and you found that least common denominator. And so that's what we're going to look at now. So I've got 1/2, and I need to change that into how many 8ths? Well, with my denominators, 2 times what got me 8? Yes, it's 4. So 2 times 4 gets me 8. I've got to be fair to the top, making that equivalent fraction being equal. So if I multiplied the denominator by 4, I'm going to multiply the numerator by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. So that becomes 4/8. My next problem has a denominator of 4. Changing it to an 8. 4 times what gets me 8? Exactly right, times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. I got lucky on 7/8. It's already there, so I don't need to change that. 1/4 into 8ths. 4 times what gets me 8? Times 2. Do the same to the top. Remember, be fair. 1 times 2 is 2. So that's 2/8. We've already done 1/2. See, it's already here. There's no need for us to go back and do it again. So 1/2 is 4/8. We've already done 3/4. That's 6/8. We've already got 7/8. That was easy. Have we done 1/4? Yes, we have. So that's 2/8. Then we've got 1/2 again, which is 4/8, and 3/4 becomes 6/8. So now you've got your number line there, and it's blank, and you've got to put these fractions on it. So we notice that all of these fractions are less than 1, but greater than 0. So that's where I'm going to start with 0, and I'm going to go to 1, knowing that in between 0 and 1, I need to show these fractional pieces of 8ths. So right now what I want you to do is to take your number line and I want you to talk amongst your table group and figure out how you're going to put these 8ths on your number line. Alright, so this is what your number should look like. Starting at 0, which really is 0/8, and 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, all the way up to 1. 1 is going to be what? Yep, 8/8. Now you have your equivalent fractions listed there. You need to take them and you need to put them on your number line. So go ahead and do that right now. Stop it.
Go.
All right, so you've noticed once you've put all these pieces, fractional pieces on your line plot, that they turn out to, it looks like this. But there's one piece that I'm missing. And on the worksheet it should say to label it. Go back into the word problem and decide what you want to label this number line. Make sure that your the title or the label of this number line matches what the problem was about. Alright guys, so this is what it should look like. Fraction of a mile ran. Okay, you could have said part of a mile, you could have said lots of other different things. As long as you knew that these fractional pieces represent parts of a mile. Good job. Okay guys, so right now you are looking at question number 7. And number 7 talks about the number of fitness club members reported the time they spend exercising. The data is shown in the box. So we know here that they have already created the line plot for us, and we now have to analyze or look at this information or this data in order to determine which one of these answer choices is incorrect. So as you're looking at your sheet, you've got answer choice A. The graph shows 3/4 totals incorrectly. The graph shows a half total incorrectly. Horizontal axis is labeled incorrectly, and the horizontal values are in the wrong order. So we need to look through this, and let's just start with my answer choice A. 3/4 happens 1, 2, 3 times. So let me go to my data, and do I have 1, 2, 3? No, I don't. I have 4 circles there. So that is obviously the error that has been made on this graph. So your answer would be A. But let's just double check, which is always a good strategy when you're taking an assessment with multiple answer choices, that you look at all of them. Is the half total correct? In my data, I only have 1/2. That is correct. The horizontal axis, remember horizontal lays side to side. Fraction of an hour, is that true? Fraction of an hour, that is true. So that's good. And the horizontal axis values are in the wrong order. 1/4, 1/2, which is really 2/4, and then 3/4. So that's correct too. So your answer for number 7 would be A. All right, so now we're looking at number 9. This one has, if you've read through the problem, good. If you've not, go ahead and pause this and read through the problem. There's a term in there that I want you to pick out because it's one that you may or may not know how to do. So go ahead and do that right now. All right, hopefully as you've looked, this word here, mean or average, is a word that should be a review word from 4th grade. But because we're not taking an actual test right now, if you ever come across a vocabulary word like that you're not sure of, I certainly hope that you are taking the opportunity to use your computer to look that up. To find the mean or the average of a number, you're going to take them and you're going to add them up, and then you're going to divide them by however many you have. This is a pretty long problem. So let's go first and add them all up. In case you're stuck, what I've gone ahead and done is I've pulled out each of those fractional parts, starting with 1/8 on your number line, and I'm multiplying it by the number of data points there are on your number line. So if you look back at your number line, you see the 1/8 and that there are 5 circles there. So what I've gone and done in my work page is I've taken 1/8 and I've multiplied by 5 because there are 5 of those. So we're being reminded that we can only multiply a fraction by a fraction. I make my 5 a fraction by putting 5 over 1, and 1/8 times 5 over 1 is 5/8. And I'm going to do that for all of these pieces of the line plot so that I can figure out exactly how much I get when I add them together. So I end up with these, some regular fractions, some improper fractions that I have to add them all up together. Should take you back to the first slide, the first video that we watched where we had to find the common denominator before we could do any adding. So go ahead and find that common denominator and then add them all up. So your new fraction should look like this, all with that common denominator of 8. 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 plus 10 is 25. 25 plus 18 is, oh my gosh. So once you found the common denominator, you need to make sure that you have these equivalent fractions and that you add them all up. Remember, when you're adding fractions, you do not add that denominator. So when you add them all up, you should end up with 80 over 8, which is going to simplify. Don't forget that this line means to divide. 80 divided by 8. 8 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract and I get 0. Bring that 0 down, but I'm still not done. How many times will 8 go into 0? Goes in 0 times. 0 times 8 is 0. Subtract and you are finished. So right now, the average of each of this, So when you've added them all up, you should get 80 over 8, which simplifies to 10. Don't forget that that line there means to divide. So now that we've added them all up, they all together add up to 10. But now I need to figure out how many of them I had to add up. So go ahead and count the number of dots total that you have. Remember we said to find the average, that you add them up and divide them by however many there are. Well, we added them up and we got 10. And then we have to divide them by however many there are. And hopefully you added them, all the circles together, and found that there were 24 of them. Oh my word, that looks like a wicked hard problem. But if you remember that this divide sign is the same thing as a fraction bar, this also looks like this. 10 divided by 24 is the same as 10 divided by 24. Now you've got a fraction and all you need to do is simplify. So what's a factor that will go into both 10 and 24? Hopefully you realize they were both even and you could divide those both by 2 to simplify that. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So your answer choice for number 9 is A. 5/12 of an hour. It won't turn on at all. Hey guys, that was some information about line plots. Hopefully you were able to make your way through that packet without any questions, but please make sure that if you need to use this video to go back and look at different things as you make your way through. Alright, great job guys. 5.MD.2 taught. Check.